All right. Good morning, gang. How's everybody doing out there this morning? It is Wednesday morning. Hope everybody's Taco Tuesday on Prize Picks was a good and prosperous one. I think we ended up going, 3 out of 4 tacos ended up working out. You had the CSGO taco that hit. You had Nikola Jokic over PRA that hit. And you had DeJounte Murray over PRA that hit. Now, that late night college basketball taco ended up being a bad one. Ended up being a taco that did not sit well on the stomach, we should say, right? So that was an unfortunate end to an otherwise great Taco Tuesday over on Prize Picks. Good morning. I appreciate everybody joining me. My name's CJ. Thank you so much for joining for this NBA player prop research show. Of course, we're talking Prize Picks. It's the only site I play on for my player props. If you're not signed up on Prize Picks yet, go ahead and take advantage of the deal now. They're doing a 100% instant deposit match on your first deposit all the way up to $100. You can use promo code Curry like you see floating above my head, or you could go down in the description of this video and click the link to get started today. Let's see who we got joining us this morning. We got I Am Trash and Roblox finally hitting that #1 spot in the live chat. Love to see it, man. He's here every single morning. JW says, good morning, fam. Let's get that bag. That bag will be gotten. Indeed. Indeed. Todd, Live for Sunday says, I knew I should have taken Paul on the assist at 9.5. It just got bumped up to 10. So he's already talking about today's picks, today's slate. We'll see what the boss says. Yes. That's you, CJ. Okay, I guess I'm the boss now, the player prop boss. Blake, good morning to you. King Chris is back up in here. He says, good morning, people. Let's go ahead and run these likes up. You guys have been smashing the likes, by the way. And for that, I'm forever grateful and appreciative. We've been going for nearly 200 or more likes on the last few live streams. Let's see if we can keep that momentum going today. Let's get it. Tyler, good to have you here. Travis, good morning to you. Let's get it. Gib or Jib Kantla, good morning, y'all. Let's get this money. I'm sorry if I butchered your name. If you're not familiar, I'm pretty good at messing names up. That's one thing that I'm definitely good at. When it comes to a difficult name, take the over on me messing up your name every single time. Blake, good to see you. Desmond says, let's get it. Good to have you back, Desmond. Eduardo, Chris Paul over 10 assists against Utah. He's talking about some CP3 dimes too. Maybe that'll be a popular play that comes up when we start doing our player prop research this morning. Killer Prop says, good morning, Patreon gang. Yes, good morning to everybody who's a member of the Patreon community. Good to see all of you out here this morning supporting. Antoine says, let's go. I've learned that I need to stick with 3-pick power plays. I always win on those, and I lose on the 4 or 5 picks. Yeah, 2-pick power plays, very solid. I mean, if you think about it, you play 3 2-pick power plays, right? If 1 out of those 3 hit, you end up breaking even. Now, hopefully you get more than just one out of your 3 2-pick power plays to hit. Hopefully you hit like 2 out of 3. Then you're really in the profits. Or maybe you get all 3 of them right. But yeah, 2-pick power plays could be a good way to go. Maybe you want to crank that up, make it a 3-pick power play and try to get 5 times your money. I ain't mad at that. But yeah, those 4 and 5-pick entries can be very difficult to hit. There's no doubt about it. Emmanuel says, good morning to everyone. Thank you for that. Good morning back to you, E-Man. Ja Toa says, Zubac messed me up last night. But other than that, I hit everything. Thanks, CJ. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the support. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, doing all the things. Brushfire says, let's go. Good morning to y'all boys. And to y'all girls, okay? I'll help him out there. Good morning to the boys and the girls out there, because we do have some ladies that like to check in and see what we're talking about, all right? King United, looks like you played the Jared Vanderbilt over points prop. Yes, my man covered again. I mean, he was rocking an 80% hit rate, I think, in the last 10, 80% in the last 5. And listen, Vanderbilt kept it going last night. He kept it going. Aaron Rodgers is back up in the building. Good to see you. Chris Smith's up in here. He smashed last night thanks to Murray with his 9 assists. Love to hear that. Tyler also got burned by Zubac. Ooh, hate to hear it. Leroy says, let's get it today with the fire emojis. Love it. Mark H says, what's up, CJ? Looking forward to another strong outing. Yeah, Mark had himself a good night last night in Patreon Discord. So shout out to you, Mark. Glad you ended up finding some profits last night. C. Chav, good to see you. Yeah, poor Halliburton, man. Not a good night for Tyrese Halliburton. I thought I was on to something, snatching him up at 25.5 PRA because his hit rate was 100%. 100% this season without De'Aaron Fox in the lineup for Tyrese Halliburton and 25.5 PRA, averaging like 39.5 PRA without Fox in the lineup. But the Boston Celtics threw a big old monkey wrench in our plans, and Tyrese Halliburton, man, had himself a very, very difficult night. So, I hate to see that. Hodane Sashwell says, you guys saying who's good props, but still come here and watch. Okay. I don't know what that means. Daniel Hernandez, good to see you. Everyday Fantasy, good morning to you, my friend. Good morning to CJ, to the Patreon family, to the live stream family. We're going to get it today. Let's go, Patreon Bulls. Put them out. Put them out. Love it. Who else is up in here? David's in here. Good morning to you. Where's all my Bay haters now? Well, I'm still on the Bay hater train. I don't care if you hit or not. Screw you, Sadiq Bey. I didn't play Sadiq Bey. I did play Karl Anthony Towns. You might have remembered yesterday. Told you I had to get that hate out of my heart for Karl Anthony Towns and go back to him. Forgive him. Well, I did, and he ended up hitting. But the unfortunate part is I paired him with Christian Wood over PRA, and Christian Wood did not get the job done. Poor Christian Wood. Martin says, the man of the hour, big $1,000 hit last night, missed on $2,000 with Reggie Jackson. Yeah, I don't know what happened to Reggie Jackson last night, man. Jeremy Tomlinson saying, keep the money flowing today. Yes, we must. It's something that we must do. Eduardo, good to see you up in here. Papiga's back. Papiga's back in the building. Kyle, let's hit big today. Great work you're doing, CJ. Enjoy listening every day at work. Love to hear that. Love to hear that, Kyle. Kyle K. I won't even try to pronounce your last name because I don't want to mess it up. Yayo Peso says, what's happening, family? What's happening to you, man? How you doing? Carlos, what's happening to you? X Justine, good to see you in here. Cryptic is in the building. Ben, shout out to you. Jake, shout out to you. Let me go ahead and put my phone on silent here, y'all. I don't want no buzzing and no vibrating going on in my pocket while I'm trying to talk to you folks. Antonio, love to see it. My leg is in here. Love that name. Isaac, what's happening, man? All right. Hopefully I said hello to everybody. Listen, 10-game NBA slate. We had 9 yesterday. There's going to be lots of different names, lots of different ways to go. So we got to get into it, folks. We got to get into it. Again, drop a like on this live stream. You know I'm going to deliver the goods, as I always do. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure your notifications are turned on because, you know, I'm going live every day, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern time, and I don't want you to miss out on anything. So go ahead. Do what you need to do to make sure you don't miss out. Ring that bell. Turn on those notifications. All right, here we go. 10 games. Charlotte Hornets at Indiana Pacers, starting things off at 7 p.m. 226 implied point total, 1.5 point spread. Loving what I'm seeing here. Loving what I'm seeing in terms of a total and a spread. The game looks like it's going to have plenty of points. It looks like it's going to stay close and competitive, so I'm not really worried about this game blowing out by any means. Now, Gordon Hayward, game time decision. He ended up sitting out last night. One of the picks that I posted to Patreon that some people were like, oh, I don't know if I feel good about this. Mason Plumlee over 6.5 rebounds. Now, listen, it was absolutely a sweat fest, but Mason Plumlee ended up covering the 6.5 rebound prop. Now, why in the world did I go to Mason Plumlee over 6.5 rebounds? Well, I'll tell you why. Because in every game this season that Gordon Hayward has sat out, Mason Plumlee has covered 6.5 rebounds, folks. So make it 3 for 3 now after last night. So if Gordon Hayward's out, maybe we go back to Mason Plumlee's rebounds. Now, I will say, have a towel handy, all right? You're going to be sweating it. He didn't get it done until late in the game. So he's not going to blow the doors off of 6.5 rebounds by any means. It's going to be a sweat fest. Over on the Indiana Pacers side, McConnell, Warren, Turner, Brogdon, and Sabonis. Those are the big ones there. Turner, Brogdon, and Sabo are all out for Indiana. 7 p.m. also brings us the Milwaukee Bucks at the Cleveland Cavaliers. 217 points. Not a super high total, but decent. 4.5 point spread out for Milwaukee. We've got Lopez, Allen, Matthews, and Wigginton. Then over on the Cleveland side, we must keep an eye on Jarrett Allen's status. Right now, game time decision. We're going to have to wait and see if he's in or out. Obviously, Sexton and Rubio continue to be out for Cleveland. Lauri Markkanen already ruled out, so that's a pretty big one there, as he is normally in the starting lineup. 7 p.m. also brings us the Los Angeles Clippers versus my poor Orlando Magic. 7 p.m. tip-off time, 212 points, 1-point spread, surprisingly. So they think, Vegas lines makers think that this game is going to stay close and competitive. Not the highest totals in the world, though. Not the highest totals in the world. That's all right. We got Nick Batum and Marcus Morris, both as game time decisions for the Clippers. Obviously, no Kawhi, no PG-13. Over on the Orlando side, we got to keep an eye on Mo Bamba. Game time decision for Mo. So if Mo is out, I don't know how that shakes up the starting lineup. I would imagine Wendell Carter Jr. slides to the center spot, or maybe they start Robin Lopez. We'll have to wait and see. Scrolling down here to 7:30 p.m., we've got the New York Knicks at the Miami Heat. Listen, these two teams in the past, over the years, over the decades, have had some great matchups. I think tonight may not be as great as some of those ones in the past. This game has just a 203.5 point total here, folks, with a 6-point spread. I don't know that I'm loving anything from this game. You know I don't trust the New York Knicks, at least from a daily fantasy sports betting perspective. The Knicks are a wild team. They're hard to figure out, guys. They're hard to figure out. I'm not going to say no Nerlens Noel. Game time decision for Nerlens Noel. Game time decision for Mitchell Robinson. No Derrick Rose for the New York Knicks. Those are your three big ones. Over on the Miami Heat side, Oladipo, Morris, Akpala, and Kyle Lowry. Yes, Kyle Lowry is still out. So low total on this game. The spread 6 points. It's looking dicey to me. Looking kind of dicey. I don't know if I like that game too much. 8:30 p.m. Memphis Grizzlies at the San Antonio Spurs. 228.5 point total. Juicy total there. Very juicy total with a 4-point spread. Loving it. We're going to get to see two of the best young point guards go head to head, right? Ja Morant for the Grizzlies versus DeJounte Murray for the Spurs. Whew. Fireworks. Fireworks. I think it's going to be a fun game. Huge total. Love the spread from this one. No Dylan Brooks, no Tyus Jones, no Kyle Anderson for Memphis. Not really seeing any other impactful injury news. Desmond Bane, game time decision. Maybe he plays. We'll have to wait and see. 7:30 p.m. brings us the Sacramento Kings at the Atlanta Hawks. 234.5 point total. Super sky high total here. Big number, 234.5. But the spread is a little worrisome. It's 9 points. A 9-point spread. Keep an eye on De'Aaron Fox. He did not play last night. Tyrese Halliburton struggled against the Celtics like we talked about at the top of the show. Maybe he gets it together if De'Aaron Fox is out tonight against a much easier opponent, the Atlanta Hawks. For the Hawks, Lou Williams, Hunter, and TLC, all game time decisions. So super high total on that one. 10 o'clock Eastern time, Phoenix Suns at the Utah Jazz. Yes, these teams just played each other recently. Yes, a lot of these Suns hit their props, and because of that, they've all been bumped up. I'm talking Chris Paul at 4.5 rebounds. Not going to get it. He's up at 5 rebounds. Devin Booker at 5 rebounds last game. He's up at 5.5 rebounds tonight. Cam Johnson at 20.5 PRA. He's up at 22.5 PRA. Chris Paul's assists were at 9.5. He's up to 10 assists. Okay, guys, they're bumping up a lot of these props. After what happened between Phoenix and Utah just a couple nights ago, a lot of these Phoenix guys have seen their props get bumped up. Now for the Phoenix Suns, some notable names here. No Jay Crowder, no DeAndre Ayton, no JaVale McGee, no Cameron Payne. I mean, it's going to be Bismack Biyombo and Cameron Johnson in the starting lineup? Okay. I don't know. For the Utah side, they will get Mike Conley back for this one. Looks like Hassan Whiteside's going to play. Maybe Whiteside has a big game against Biyombo. No Donovan Mitchell, no Rudy Gobert. Those are huge pieces of injury news. No Donovan Mitchell, no Rudy Gobert. All right. And we go down to the next game, 10 o'clock, Dallas Mavericks at the Portland Trail Blazers, 216.5 points, 4-point spread. Tim Hardaway Jr., man, sounds like he's going to be out a while. I think he hurt his foot pretty bad. Was it a fracture? Something like that? Broke something in his foot? Sounds like THJ is going to be out a while for Dallas. So maybe that means more work for Jalen Brunson, Dorian Finney-Smith. I know some folks were high on Jalen Brunson last night. Ended up not getting the job done. Jalen Brunson fell short, I think, both in fantasy points and PRA last night. Over on the Portland side, Zeller, Lillard, and Nance Jr. are all out. All right. And then I don't know why this one's out of order, but 8 p.m., Denver at Brooklyn, 223.5 points, 1.5 point spread. Will Barton ended up sitting out last night. He's a game time decision tonight. We've talked about Nikola Jokic. What a monster game this dude had against the Detroit Pistons last night. He nearly hit his discounted PRA number in the first half. I mean, he crushed it. Nikola Jokic was on one last night, folks. So he gets to face Brooklyn tonight. Brooklyn's going to be without KD and Kyrie Irving. So it's going to be the James Harden show one more time here against this Denver Nuggets team. Denver giving up a lot of points to opposing point guards. So I think Harden will definitely be in play. Then we got 8 p.m. Toronto at Chicago, 219 point total with a 4-point spread. Keep an eye on Fred VanVleet and Scotty Barnes. Both of those guys ended up sitting out yesterday. And then over on the Chicago side, no Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso. Those are the biggest ones from the Chicago Bulls. So there you go, guys. That is the rundown of the slate. What are you guys thinking? Any games, any players that are sticking out upon first glance? What are you guys liking? You guys let me know. We'll talk about your favorite picks and props and plays as we get into the show a little bit later here. Let's pull up my little prize picks model that I have fired up here on Fantasy Labs. We use Fantasy Labs for their fantasy projections. We use Action Labs for their single stat player props. All of this is part of the Fantasy Labs tools. So on top of that, we also use Fantasy Pros. Now, this is pretty nice because it shows you defense versus position. How many points, rebounds, assists, your favorite single stat player prop that these defenses are giving up over the last 7 games. Or you could look at last 15 or last 30. So it's a very helpful tool to kind of get an idea about some matchups. So let's start things off as we typically do, looking at some points. Starting off with Giannis Antetokounmpo at 27.5 points. He's going up against the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight. 27.5 points has been good to Giannis over the last 10 games, has covered in 8 out of 10 games. That's an 80% hit rate. We look at the last 5 games here, also rocking an 80% hit rate. He's covered in 4 out of 5 games, averaging 30 points per game. The last time that he did not cover was against Atlanta with just 27 points, but he came really close, right? Otherwise, 30 plus points in 4 out of his last 5 games. You love what you're seeing out of Antetokounmpo. Let's go take a look at this matchup. He plays the power forward spot. He's facing off against Cleveland. Maybe no Jared Allen for the Cavaliers. We have to wait and see on that news. If no Jared Allen, then the matchup gets a little bit easier here for Giannis. Nonetheless, Cleveland giving up about 20 to 21 points per game to opposing power forwards, which kind of puts them right in the middle of the pack. You can kind of see where they fall in line here in terms of their ranking, right? So not a overly difficult or overly easy matchup for Giannis, just kind of middle of the road. So let's go pull a projection up for Giannis. I got him projected for 30.5 points, 30.5 points. Now we're seeing him at 27.5 on 4 different sites, 4 different sports books. 3 out of the 4 people are betting the over at 27.5 points. There is one site where I'm seeing action on the under. So we're seeing a little bit of mixed signals here as far as how the betting public are taking Giannis Antetokounmpo tonight. 3 out of the 4 sites like the over, 1 site likes the under, but you can't argue with this. The last 10 games at an 80% hit rate, the last 5 games at an 80% hit rate, averaging 30 points per game. All right. So maybe he's one to have on your radar. Another guy who is popping up here as a high hit rate guy. I don't know that I trust him, especially in a low scoring game. This guy has been very difficult to trust. You look at his game logs and you're like, is this the same Jimmy Butler from a few years ago? Like an elite player? Is he still the same guy? I don't know that I trust his points quite as much. What do you guys think about this? Jimmy Buckets. I don't think we could call him Jimmy Buckets anymore. But at 18.5 points over the last 10 games, 70% hit rate. Now, the last 5 games, not so kind to Jimmy Butler. Going back to January 15th, he's covered 18.5 points just twice. Do we dare go under on Jimmy Butler, though? I don't know. He's just been hard to trust, a hard guy to trust. Let's go take a look at the matchup. Butler, kind of the shooting guard, small forward, kind of a point forward right now for the Miami Heat. I think maybe his assists could be a better look than his points, dare I say. But looking at this matchup here against the New York Knicks, the Knicks, we got to go down a ways. They're giving up just 17.2 points per game. 17.2 points per game to opposing shooting guards. Let's look at the small forward matchup. Maybe it gets easier. Maybe it doesn't. Knicks giving up 19.8 points per game to opposing small forwards. So they got the wings pretty locked down here. Knicks are clamping folks out here, folks. Not giving up a ton of points to shooting guards or small forwards. Let's take a look at Jimmy Butler here. Wow. That's a pretty beefy projection. 22.7 projected points. Now, absolutely, definitely do your homework here. Cross-reference this projection. There's a number of free sites like NumberFire, Betting Pros. They offer points projections as well. Cross-check this. Cross-reference this, okay? Action Labs, though, they like the over at 22.7 points. Now, at 18.5 points, I'm seeing them on 4 different sites. Betting odds is as high as -135 to go over 18.5. But I don't know that I trust this guy in what looks like a slow pace, low scoring game. It's been hard to trust Jimmy Butler. Don't know that I love him. Chris Middleton, we've talked about Giannis Antetokounmpo. Chris Middleton at 20.5 points. He's been another guy over the last 10 games who's covered 20.5 points at a 70% clip. 70% hit rate for Chris Middleton at 20.5 points. Looking at the last 5 games, 60% hit rate. Now, 25.4 points per game. I believe some of these games were without Drew Holiday. If I'm not mistaken, I think Drew Holiday was out for some of these games. So maybe Chris Middleton's points per game comes down a little bit. That 25.4 point per game average over the last 5 might end up coming down just a tad. Let's take a look at this matchup against the Cleveland Cavaliers. We saw how they stack up against the power forward position, kind of a middle-of-the-road matchup. They're giving up about 21 points per game over the last 7 games to small forwards. Again, kind of just an average matchup in the points department for small forwards versus Cleveland. Now, you can make the argument that Chris Middleton is a shooting guard. All right, I hear you. Well, let's go take a look at that matchup. 20.2 points per game to opposing shooting guards over the last 7 games. So they're right around 20 to 21 points, whether you're a shooting guard or small forward, either wing position. They're giving up about 20 to 21 points to both of those spots. Let's take a look at the projections for Middleton. I got him projected for 22.6 points, but at 20.5 points. Every site that I see right now, 3 out of 4 at least, have him going under 20.5 points, -130. -130, the best odds you can find here if you're looking to bet the under. So there you go. Chris Middleton, his role might be affected, might be impacted a little bit by this guy coming back into the lineup. Now, somebody that was mentioned early this morning inside of the NBA chat of our Patreon Discord community, Evan Fournier, points at 11.5. All right. You guys were talking about some Evan Fournier, and, my immediate reaction was he plays for the New York Knicks. I don't trust him because it's just been so hard to figure out. The Knicks, is it an RJ Barrett night, Julius Randle night? Is it a Evan Fournier night? Is it Alec Burks night, Kemba Walker night? Like, who's going to step up on any given night? That if I had the question or the answer to that question, man. If only I had the answer to that question. Listen, I don't have the answer. But let's look at it. He's at 11.5 points. At 12.5 points over the last 10 games, he's covered 12.5 and 60% of his games. At 11.5 points over the last 5 games, he's covered in just 2 out of 5. 40% hit rate. Some days he has 6 points. Some days he has 27. It's like, you never know what you're going to get with Evan Fournier. He's in this little funky holding pattern, right? Bad game against Charlotte with 6, comes back with 27. Bad game against New Orleans with 6, comes back with 14. Bad game against Cleveland with 7. Does he get right tonight? Does the pattern continue? These up and down games. Let's look at the matchup here. Shooting guards, points versus the Miami Heat. Miami giving up about 18.8 points per game. It sounds like a pretty low number, but when you consider that Fournier only needs 12 points, maybe there's a chance here. But that's the 6th fewest points allowed to the shooting guard position. Let's go to the small forward spot here. Go find the Miami Heat. They're giving up about 20 points per game to small forwards. Let's push them, puts them right in the middle of the pack. Right in the middle of the pack. So some upside here, whether you're a shooting guard or small forward. He just needs 12 points, guys. Just 12 points. Let's see if he gets it done. Projected for 12.5 points. Now, here's one thing that I will point out about Fournier. We got 3 different books with a Fournier point prop. 2 out of the 3 have him up at 12.5 points. So that means 12 to 13 points, right? Somewhere in that range. But listen, one book has him up at 13.5 points. So their lines makers seem to think that 13 to 14 points could be realistic here for Fournier. Let's dig a little bit deeper for you Patreon folks who asked about Evan Fournier. For this, we will go to StatMuse. We will go Evan Fournier points versus Heat logs. I saw some of you folks talking about this. Listen, we don't have any previous game logs for Evan Fournier as a member of the New York Knicks versus tonight's opponent, the Miami Heat. But what we do have is a bunch of games against the Heat as a member of the Boston Celtics, as a member of the Orlando Magic. At 11.5 points, he has covered quite a bit. The last time he played the Heat, again, was with Boston back on May 11th of last season. Dropped 20 points on him. Game before that had 30 points. All right. And you see 25, 17, 12. Going back even further to his Orlando days, 15, 17, 13, 13, 13, 23, 14. I mean, you get the point, right? He has the ability, the upside to go over 11.5. So some of you folks who were asking about Fournier and Patreon, the Discord channel, I don't know, man. Like I said, if you could figure out the New York Knicks, you'd be a rich person right now. So he's been in this weird little holding pattern. Very rarely does he have 2 subpar games in a row. And he's shown a pretty good hit rate against tonight's opponent, the Miami Heat. But enough about this guy, right? Let's move on to our next stat category. We're going to look at some rebounds. See who's been getting it done on the boards here, folks. Last 10 games, things have been looking good for this guy, Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton at 5.5 rebounds and 80% hit rate over his last 10 games. We look at the last 5 games at 5 rebounds. He's covered this in 4 out of 5. So he's been getting the job done on the glass. Do we go back to Chris Middleton tonight, averaging 6.8 rebounds over the last 5 games? Let's go take a look at the matchup here. He plays the small forward spot going up against the Cleveland Cavaliers. So we go to the rebound column. We sort. And then we scroll down. Cleveland giving up just 5.3 rebounds, the first fewest amount of rebounds per game to the small forward spot. 5.3 boards, which means Middleton would have to collect every single rebound that the Cleveland Cavaliers have given up on average to the small forward position. Kind of a tough task, right? Could be tough. Let's go ahead and take a look at a projection here for Mr. Chris Middleton. He's rocking the high hit rates, guys. And at 4.5 rebounds on a couple of different sites, he's being bet up minus 155 for the over at 4.5. But he's at 5 on PrizePicks. Here's the good news. He is at 5.5 on another site where they are betting the under at 5.5, minus 142 go under. So between 4.5 and 5.5 obviously lies 5, which is why PrizePicks has kind of split the difference and taken this middle road here with 5 rebounds. He's projected for 6.7, has shown a high hit rate. I don't know, maybe you lean toward the over here. Worst case, you end up in a push, a tie situation, and he lands on exactly 5 boards. But hard again to argue with an 80% hit rate over the last 10 games and 80% over the last 5. All right. His teammate, Drew Holiday, at 4 rebounds. Also been getting the job done here. Drew got some pretty good game logs. The last 10 have been particularly good for Drew at 4.5 boards, rocking a 70% hit rate. 7 out of 10. If we look at the last 5 games here, he has gone for 4 or more rebounds in 100% of the games. Now he's actually covered or gone over 4 rebounds in 4 out of 5, an 80% hit rate. So this again would probably be one of those situations where I lean toward the over. Maybe we end up in a tie or push, but let's go see how many rebounds per game over the last 7 games that the Cavaliers are giving up to the point guard position. So we go down a ways. Cleveland giving up, 7.1 rebounds per game, which actually isn't that bad. If you look at kind of where they rank, where they fall in line, just outside the top 10 most giving in terms of rebounds and point guards. So you could potentially go over here on Drew Holiday with the fact that the Cavs are giving up over 7 boards per game. He needs just 4 to tie, 5 to go over. Let's pull a projection up for Drew. Got him projected for 4.8. Now, the reason he's at 4 on PrizePicks is because out on your favorite sports book at 4.5, people are slapping the under at 4.5 rebounds. Slapping the under all day long. Minus 145 betting favorite to go under 4.5. So again, at 4, I'm probably leaning toward the over here in this matchup. And again, maybe he ties like he did against Chicago with 4 rebounds. We'll just have to wait and see. Who else is standing out here? Omar saying, "What's up, big dog? I love you, bro. You've made me some big money." And some of these people out here say the analysis is bad. Oh, boy. Appreciate that, Omar. Appreciate you leaving the love, my man. Glad that I was able to make you a few bucks. That's the goal anyway, you know. Get on here, help some people out, have some fun. That's it. Real simple guy. I'm a real simple dude. Have fun, help others, right? Other rebound props. Listen, I don't want to beat these Milwaukee Bucks to death, but Giannis Antetokounmpo at 11.5 boards over the last 10 games. Been another guy who's been rebounding at a pretty high clip. 6 out of his last 10 games, he's covered 11.5. We're getting him in at 11. At 11 right now on PrizePicks. At 11 rebounds over the last 5 games. 3 out of 5. So a 60% hit rate. He's averaging, though, just 10.2. So his averages are a little bit lower. Let's look at this matchup against the Cavaliers. I would imagine that it gets a lot easier if Jarrett Allen does not lace up the sneakers tonight. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you imagine the matchup gets a little bit juicier here for Giannis Antetokounmpo without Jarrett Allen? So we'll have to wait and see on the Jarrett Allen news. But I've got Cleveland giving up about 10.2 boards per game to opposing power forwards over the last 7 games. Let's go take a look at his projection here. We've got 3 different bucks that we've talked about so far with rebound props. Giannis is sitting at 10.5 rebounds out on your favorite sports book. Now, he's at 11 on PrizePicks for good reason. Minus 145, minus 150 betting favorite to go over 10.5. So PrizePicks has taken liberties, went ahead and rounded up that hook. That 0.5 you hear after that 10.5, that 0.5, that's the hook. So they went ahead, rounded that up, and brought him up to 11 rebounds. Projected for 12.4. Which of these Milwaukee Bucks rebound props are you liking the most for an overplay? Is it the G-Man, Giannis Antetokounmpo? Is it Chris Middleton at 5 rebounds? Or is it Drew Holiday at 4? Or maybe it's none. Maybe you're going to fade all of them against Cleveland. But I'd like to hear what you guys think based on what we've seen so far. A lot of Milwaukee Bucks showing their faces here in these rebound props. All right. With those out of the way, there's no other like real high hit rate rebounders over the last 10 games. So let's go ahead, move it on over to the next category. Points, rebounds, and assists. Actually, let's skip that. They're kind of out of order today. Let's go to the assists first, and then we'll talk PRA. All right. So let's look and see who the top dime droppers are. Before we do that, looks like David has blessed us with a little bit of knowledge here. A little bit of Evan Fournier knowledge. Some Fournier caviar, should we say. A little bit on Fournier. He says he's gone over 5.5 first half points on the road in 13 out of 20 games this season, including 7 of 8. So maybe Fournier is more of a first half only points play per my man David. Interesting. Let that stew a little bit, gang. Just to do a little visual representation here on Evan Fournier, let's go ahead and pull up his first half points so you guys can see for yourselves what Mr. David is talking about here. Evan Fournier first half points logs. Now he's saying that more specifically, Fournier on the road. So you got home splits. If you've never heard of the term splits, you got home splits and you got road splits. So he's talking about on the road splits. He's gone over 5.5 first half points in 13 out of 20 games, which is a pretty high hit rate. And there he is, guys, at 5.5 points up on PrizePicks. 5.5 first half points over on PrizePicks. So you can kind of take a look at some of the road games here. You got New York at Cleveland, 7 points for Fournier there. New York at Atlanta, 9 points for Fournier there. New York at Toronto, 9 points there. New York at OKC, womp womp, did not get it done there. Shot pretty bad, 1 for 7 in that game. So hopefully his shooting's a little bit better. New York at Minnesota, 10 points there. New York at Boston, 17. New York at Houston, 11 points there. And then going back, New York at Toronto, he's got 6 points there. So maybe he's got a point. I mean, maybe we go first half on Evan Fournier and he drops 11 points. Wouldn't that be something? So I appreciate you dropping that, shining a little bit of light there on Evan Fournier. First half points. Interesting play. All right, let's go back to what we were getting into, which is the assist props. Again, a lot of Milwaukee Bucks are showing themselves here on the last 10 games in terms of high hit rates and assists. Chris Middleton at 4.5 over the last 10 games, an 80% hit rate for him. So let's go take a look at Chris Middleton, small forward, assists, going up against the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're giving up just 1.69 assists per game to opposing small forwards. Man, that is about as stingy as you could get. That is the first fewest assists allowed per game to small forwards. So on paper, the most difficult matchup you can imagine for opposing small forwards. So that doesn't look good, right? That doesn't look encouraging. We got a projection for Middleton at 5.5 assists. At 4.5 dimes, we've got him on one side as a betting favorite to go over 4.5. So they're saying, screw it. We don't care about the matchup, or they don't know about how difficult the matchup is. We're going to take Chris Middleton over 4.5 assists anyway. Bold move. Let's take a look at some of these other players. We got Giannis back up on the board again at 5.5 assists over his last 10 games, 70% hit rate for him. At 5 dimes, we're looking at the last 5 games, 60% hit rate, 6.2 assists per game average. Maybe the matchup's a little bit easier against this Cavaliers squad for power forwards when it comes to the assist props. Going all the way down here, Cleveland giving up just 2.5 assists. Man, they don't want to give up any dimes. They're clinching. They're holding on to those dimes, not giving very many away to either small forwards or power forwards. So Giannis sitting at 5 dimes. Let's just pull a projection for him real quick. The matchup's looking quite difficult against one of the more tougher teams defensively in the Cleveland Cavaliers. So we're seeing Giannis projected for 6, which is more than 5 on Action Labs. But at 5.5 across 3 different sites, a betting favorite to go under. We got minus 155, minus 160, minus 145 odds to go under. Now, he is coming off of a below average game against Chicago in the assist category. Maybe it's a bounce back spot. So maybe you lean toward the over on 5 assists and he ends up in a tie or push situation. I don't know. You know me. I like targeting those bounce back spots. When a guy comes down below his average and has shown pretty good form in the previous 4, 5, 10 games, then I kind of like going back to it, hoping he returns back closer to his averages. Quepid101 says CJ's the GOAT. All love, no hate. Isaac, 11 is your favorite number. Me too, man. Me too. Appreciate the love, guys. Definitely slap that like button to show me just how much you really love what I'm saying and what I'm doing. Julius Randle's one guy that was up in the Patreon Discord early this morning. We were discussing Julius Randle and how unpredictable Julius Randle and the rest of these New York Knicks can be. We just can't figure him out. At least I can't. I don't have the answers. You ain't got the answers, Sway. And I ain't got the answers either on Julius Randle. But I could tell you this, at 4.5 assists over the last 10 games, a 60% hit rate. Also sporting a 60% hit rate here in the last 5 games. Coming off kind of a subpar assist type of game against Cleveland with 4. He's a frustrating player to watch because he's capable of doing so many great things, but a lot of the times reverts to playing shooting guard, point guard, big old 6'10" shooting guard, point guard. Get your ass down in the paint, son. Just like I said about Karl Anthony Towns yesterday, get your big ass down in the paint and play some power forward. What's with these guys? What's with these soft ass big men? Karl Anthony Towns, Julius Randle, twins. All right? They're basically twins. It's just so frustrating to watch. Anyway, let's go take a look at the Miami Heat. How many assists they're giving up to opposing power forwards. Let's go find them. Giving up about 3.4 dimes. Not a great matchup. Not a bad one either, though. Kind of middle of the pack, middle of the road. Tell him, King Chris, get your ass down in the paint and play some power forward, man. What are we doing? You big, athletic. He's just an athlete. Like, get down there and dominate. Instead, he wants to be out there playing point guard, man. It just pisses me off. All right, so the matchup, not crazy good, not crazy difficult. Let's take a look at the projections here for Julius Randle. Got him projected for 5.4 dimes, which is more than 4.5, so they're liking the over, at least the projections are. But I will say this, 2 different sites, 2 different sports books. One's betting the under, and the other site has him going over. So that is the enigma, the conundrum with Julius Randle. You got 2 different sites. One site, people are betting the over. One site, people are betting the under. He's projected to go over. Okay, I don't know. Stay away from that crap. Stay away from him. One popular play that I saw floating around the Patreon Discord was this guy, Jimmy Butler. Listen, we talked about his points, saying, hey, we don't really trust him to score. Jimmy Buckets is not really getting buckets like that anymore. Cupid. Oh, okay, Cupid. Well, thanks for showing love, Cupid. It is only right. It is only right that Cupid is showing that type of love. Appreciate the clarification. Sorry I butchered your name, but it is what I am good at, killing people's names. But Jimmy Butler at 7.5 assists, we don't trust his points. Maybe we trust his dimes a bit more. Over the last 10 games, 60% hit rate at 7.5 assists. Over the last 5, 80% hit rate. Averaging 8.4 dimes, going up against the New York Knicks. Maybe Butler just doesn't want to score anymore, guys. Maybe he's looking to be a facilitator as his career winds down. I don't know. I have no idea what's going on with this guy. Another frustrating player, right? Jimmy Butler, him, Julius Randle, Karl Anthony Towns probably hang out and go shopping at Bed Bath & Beyond on the weekends. Bunch of soft-ass boys, all right? Sorry. It's just how I feel. Listen, New York Knicks giving up about 4.7 assists per game to opposing shooting guards. Let's look at the small forward spot because that's not looking like a very good matchup for these assists. New York giving up, where are they at? Did I miss them? 3.6 assists per game to opposing small forwards. So listen, shooting guards and small forwards struggling here in the assist column. But if Jimmy Butler's not out there scoring, you got to think maybe he's passing the ball a little bit more. At 7.5 assists, I've got him projected for 6.8 here on the action projection tool. He is a betting favorite on 2 out of 3 books to go over 7.5 dimes. I'd probably trust him to go over his assists more than I would his points. But again, what do I know? What do I know? This guy probably buys hand lotions from Ulta, okay? Keep his hands soft. He doesn't want to score anymore. I don't trust him. Moving on, folks. We've talked about some points, rebounds, and assists. Let's mix them all together and see who's covering their PRA at a high clip. Points, rebounds, and assists have become a very popular way for a lot of you folks to play your player props. And I can't blame you. It's kind of like fantasy points, except you don't have the steals, you don't have the blocks, and you don't have to worry about turnovers, taking points away from the output. It's really just a 1-to-1. For every point scored, you get a point. For every rebound taken down, you get a point. And for every assist dished out, you get, that's right, a point. So PRA, let's take a look at the top hitters over the last 10 games. Giannis, once again, we've talked about him in multiple statistical categories. So of course, he's going to be a leading candidate for a PRA over tonight against the Cavaliers. He's at 44.5 PRA, and he's covered this in 80% of the last 10 games. Now, things cooled off a little bit over the last 5 games. He's down to 60%. 60% PRA in that span. Just real quick, we can go back here to Fantasy Pros and their free little chart. We'll go to the power forward position. We'll just take a look at Cleveland over the last 7 games. They're giving up about 20.6 points per game, about 10.2 rebounds per game, but just 2.5 assists per game. So that kind of gives you an idea how many PRAs are allowed by the Cleveland Cavaliers over the last 7. Now, the great thing about Action Labs is that they do provide us with a projection for PRA. And I'm seeing Giannis Antetokounmpo for nearly 49 points, rebounds, and assists, which puts him over by about 4.5 PRA. Now, interesting enough is that at 44.5 PRA, they are betting the under on Giannis. They do not like him to cover 44.5 points, rebounds, and assists versus Cleveland. So he's the first one. Great hit rates, high hit rates. But the matchup doesn't look so easy. How about his teammate? Maybe we like Chris Middleton a little bit more. Another guy who's been getting it done over the last 10 games. Rocking an 80% hit rate in that span. 8 out of 10 games, he's covered 30.5 PRA. We look at the last 5, also a strong 80% hit rate, averaging 37.6 PRA. But I will remind you that I think some of these games were without Drew Holiday. And then with Drew Holiday back in the lineup, could shake things up a little bit. So just be careful with this one. All right, be careful a little bit. Let's go to the small forward position. We'll look at the Cavaliers. They're giving up about 21 points per game to small forwards, about 5 rebounds per game, and about 1.6 assists per game. So this is a tough team defensively. Cavaliers, a very good team on the defensive side of things. So not going to be an easy matchup for Middleton or for Giannis. Let's go ahead and take a look at the projection for Middleton. I got him projected for 34.7 PRA, which is, again, about 4.2 PRA higher. Now, he is at 30.5 out on your favorite sports betting sites. They're taking the under on him as well. They don't like Giannis or Middleton to cover their PRA versus a tough Cleveland squad. Now, we talked about this guy as well, but I got to talk about him again because for PRA purposes, he is covering in 70% of his games, 7 out of 10. At 28.5, the last 5 games, he's covered in 3 out of 5, 60% hit rate. So things are looking good for both, or for Giannis, for Chris Middleton, and Drew Holiday. But again, which of these 3 do you trust the most? Well, let's go look at the matchups real quick. Maybe it gets a little easier for Drew Holiday against this Cleveland Cavaliers squad. They're giving up 23.3 points, 7 rebounds, and over 6 assists per game to opposing point guards. So already, I think the matchup here for Drew Holiday is looking a lot easier. That's about 36, 37, maybe even 38 PRA allowed to opposing point guards. Quick math. That was quick math. Let's look at Drew's projection, guys. Got him at 28.9, so about 29 points, rebounds, and assists. And he is finally the only one out of these 3 for the Milwaukee Bucks that is a betting favorite to go over 28.5 PRA. So out of these 3, Holiday's the only one that the public is taking the over on. You think Holiday's the play? Brandon in? Love it, love it. Amber saying, Curry finally caught a live. Well, I appreciate you catching me live. Thanks for being here. Anthony says, us Eagles in Florida, salute. Hey, man, salute to you as well, Anthony. We're down here in Florida. I'm holding it down in the 813. Where are you at again, Anthony? Lakeland or something like that? Anyway, right down the street, right? Shout out to you, my fellow Floridian. All right, so we've beat these Milwaukee Bucks to death. We talked about liking some Evan Fournier, potentially liking Evan Fournier over on points. Well, you can get Evan Fournier's PRA as well. He's at 16.5. He's got a 60% hit rate over the last 10 games. Again, you see this little cycle here, this pattern forming under, over, under, over, under. Like this little pattern forming here with Evan Fournier. Is this a bounce back spot for Fournier? It very well could be. Let's take a look at this matchup against Miami in terms of the PRA. How many are they giving up here to shooting guards? Not a great matchup. 18.8 points, about 4 to 5 rebounds per game, and about 5 assists per game. So there's some upside here for a guy who needs just 17. I mean, he could very well get his PRA on points alone, right? If Fournier comes out and he's knocking down his shots, he could get his PRA done in just points alone. Let's pull a projection up real quick, and then we'll switch things up and move to the last couple of categories and start taking some of your questions. My projections here on Action Labs, he's at 17.3 PRA, but on BetMGM, they are taking the under at 16.5. The public betting the under on Fournier. All right. So what else do we have here? We've talked points. We've talked assists. We've talked rebounds. We've talked points, rebounds, and assists. Let's look at the 3-point makes. See who we have up on the board today. Who's been taking and making a lot of threes for their respective teams. Well, you're not going to see them up on the board just yet, but maybe if we get them later. Duncan Robinson at 2.5 threes over the last 10 games, a 70% hit rate. That one's looking pretty good. Chris Middleton at 2.5 threes. We've talked about him in damn near every single stat category known to man today. So why not talk about his 3-point makes? Over the last 10 games for him, a 60% hit rate going up against Cleveland tonight. Let's see how many threes they're giving up to opposing small forwards. You know, for a 10-game slate, we're getting a lot of the same names that are coming up here. Kind of weird, right? Kind of weird. Anyway, Cleveland giving up about 3-point makes per game to opposing small forwards. So there's some upside here. There's some potential that Chris Middleton can knock down 3 triples against this Cavs squad. Let's go ahead and pull up a projection for you. Got him projected to make 2.6 3-pointers tonight. He is a betting favorite out on 2 sports books at -120 odds to go over to cover this particular prop. Now we talked about Cam Johnson. He's at 2.5 3-point makes. He covered his 3-point prop in his last game without Jay Crowder. He ended up in the starting lineup, had himself a good game. So if you could get Cam Johnson over 2.5 3-point makes, I think he's worth considering. We've talked Drew Holiday for everything else. He's another one that's coming up in terms of 3-point makes, but his hit rate not so great over the last 10, just a 50% hit rate. Let's look at the matchup against the Cavs real quick. Going to the point guard position. They're giving up, kind of tough, just 2 3-point makes. So Drew Holiday will have to get every single one of the 3-point makes that the Cavaliers allow on average to the point guard position. Could be a tall task here for Drewski. Got him projected for 1.7. Betting favorite to go over 1.5. All right. That's it. That's it for 3-point makes. Free throws made. We've talked about these in the past. Give me the guys with high usage rates. Give me the guys that are going to have the basketball in their hands. You're asking, well, how do I know what guys have high usage rates? Well, a tool like Fantasy Labs can help with something like that. They have a usage projection here. So if we type in a guy like Giannis, you'll see that his usage is projected for 30.6. Or if we type in a guy like Garland, you can see that his usage is at 27.5, so lower than Giannis. If we go with a guy like RJ Barrett, some of you guys have said, man, I keep making money off of RJ Barrett's free throws. Well, RJ Barrett's usage, 24.1. So looking at usage rates could definitely help. You also want guys that when they get to the free throw line, that they're actually going to knock down their free throw attempts, right? So high percentage guys. We also want to consider some free throw shooters who are going to be the designated shooters if their team is in a technical foul situation. So when there's a technical foul on the opposing team, who's going to go to the line to make a free throw? Probably going to be somebody like Chris Middleton, who's a great free throw shooter. Probably going to be a guy like Darius Garland. Probably going to be a guy like Devin Booker going to the free throw line. So in those technical foul situations, they can easily pick up an easy free throw make there. Another way to think about this is toward the end of a game, when those intentional fouls start coming out at the very end of a game, who are the guys that are going to be intentionally fouled? you're going to want to get the ball in the hands of some of these guys like Devin Booker, like Darius Garland, right? So that's how I approach free throw makes. Now, blocks and steals, I played one blocks and steals prop, and it did not work out in my favor. Probably not going to play any of these guys, but just for fun, I will pull projections up for you guys in case you're curious. We've got two people to choose from here. Karis LeVert, 1.9 projected blocks and steals. He's a betting favorite on at least one book to go under this number. And John Collins at 1.7 projected blocks and steals. He is a betting favorite to go over 1.5. Do you guys play any blocks and steals? Any of you watching the show? If you have, are you making money playing blocks and steals? I have not really gone here. They don't typically have a whole lot of blocks and steals options up when they are up. But yeah, I haven't been playing any of them. Just seems like a really volatile way to play. Maybe we just keep clicking the unders. Maybe it's under all the time. Maybe I'll do that. I'll just throw in like some unders. It is kind of a boring stat, you know? So I don't know. I haven't been playing a whole lot of blocks and steals. Let's go ahead and take some of your questions though. I'm ready for it. You guys are talking about locks again. Oh man. What are the locks? Wow, it's still in my search history. That's cool. Looks like it's an American hip-hop group from Yonkers, New York, formed in 1994. It's comprised of East Coast rappers Sheek Louch, Styles P, and Jada Kiss. Those are the locks, folks. All right. Hit me with your questions. Hopefully, I know that's a popular question and typically comes up almost every time we do one of these live streams. What are the locks? 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 Those are the locks, man. The only locks that matter. Sheek, Styles, Jada. All right? Money, power, respect. That's the key to life. You already know who the lock is for tonight. Brush fire. All right. Yeah, Home Depot, great place for some locks. Lowe's, Ace Hardware. If you got an Ace Hardware nearby, lots of locks there. Locks all day. You can get your locks at a lot of different places. Heck, I think even Walmart. Shout out to Walmart. Death, taxes, and locks. You can always count on those things. Let's take a look and see some of these picks that you guys are recommending or curious about. One, Blake Schofield wants to know about Giannis Antetokounmpo's first half points. I saw somebody in our Patreon Discord community mentioning Giannis Antetokounmpo's points. I think they took him in one of their lineups. Shout out to you. I forget who that was exactly, but Giannis at 13.5 first half points. We've talked about these Bucks at length today, guys, at length. Let's go ahead and take a look at Giannis, and we can do that using StatMuse. We could go Giannis first half point logs and get an idea how often he covers 13.5 points. So we'll look at the first 5 games here, 16, 17, 14, and 23. So he's covered in 4 out of 5. That's an 80% hit rate. Looking pretty strong there. We back this up and look at the games 6 through 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's gone over in 1, 2 out of those 5. So overall, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 10. A 60% hit rate. Now, the last time he played Cleveland was back on December 6th, 2021. Played 13 first half minutes, had just 8 first half points. So he did not cover his first half point prop against the Cavaliers back on December 6th, which was this season last year. All right. So hopefully that gives you a little bit more insight, a little bit more info on Mr. Antetokounmpo. Let's look at some of your other questions here. Jay Red asking about Booker's points. Shout out to J Red, by the way, longtime Patreon and Discord community member. Shout out to you, J Red. You're asking about some Book points. Let's take a look at them. Devin Booker, obviously, no Jay Crowder. I believe DeAndre Ayton has also been ruled out. So in this case, Devin Booker's at 27.5 points. He had 30 against Detroit, 48 against the Spurs, 28 against Dallas, even 33 in the last meeting against Utah. So he's got that upside, right? 30-point upside in him. We know he can do it. One thing that you can do here is use StatMuse to go Devin Booker points without, I don't know, we'll go Ayton first. Without DeAndre Ayton logs. And you can kind of get an idea from this season how many times he's covered this particular prop. Now we got to go all the way back to November 2nd. 27.5 points he's covered in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So not a great hit rate. Not a great over-the-top hit rate or anything like that. The matchup here against the Utah Jazz, they're going to be shorthanded. No Donovan Mitchell. So we'll take a look and see how many points per game over the last 7 games that Utah's giving up. The second most, 25.2 points per game, the second most. So great matchup here, plus matchup on paper. Now another thing you can do is look at Devin Booker's points versus Jazz logs. Lots of different ways you could search and research these props here on StatMuse. But then you can kind of get an idea looking historically here, how many times he's covered 27.5 points versus the Jazz. Well, he did it earlier this season, a couple days ago, in fact, 33 points. He had 31 back on April 30th of last season. He had 35 on April 7th of last season. So he's covered in 3 straight games. So there's some potential here for Devin Booker. I ain't mad at you for wanting to take Devin Booker over points with the Suns being shorthanded and all. And we are getting 1 point of value here on Devin Booker. And what I mean by that, in case you never heard of that term or don't know what I'm talking about, he's at 27.5 points on PrizePicks, but we're seeing him at 28.5 points out on every other sports book out there. Worth noting, worth mentioning, at 28.5 points, people are betting the over on all 4 of these sites. So if they're feeling confident and comfortable enough at taking the over at 28.5, then I think we should feel even more comfortable and confident at taking the over at 27.5. Just something to keep in mind. Yeah, not everybody knows about the locks, unfortunately. Not everybody knows about the locks. Busy Time 160. So you're asking about Giannis, but you're more so interested in the first half fantasy points at 27.5. His first half points looked a little. I'm showing Giannis first half fantasy points actually down at 26.5. Did they bump it up or down? Let's refresh. Let me make sure I've got the latest first half props pulled in here. No, he's at 26.5. So maybe they lowered him. Busy, you might want to refresh your PrizePicks app. But Giannis is at 26.5 first half fantasy points. Let's go back here. Do I still have this? Yes, I do. So we can go Giannis first half FanDuel points logs. All right. And then at 26.5, he's covered in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So like 6 out of his last 11 games or something like that. Not a crazy high hit rate for that either. Not a crazy high hit rate. And then Cleveland, as far as how many fantasy points allowed to the power forward position, doesn't look like a great matchup. I mean, they're giving up 41 fantasy points, kind of puts them down toward the middle of the pack. So not a like super high, super plus matchup. Like if they were the Bulls, for instance, the Bulls are giving up 54 fantasy points per game to opposing power forwards. Oh, yeah. And we can also look at one other thing. Against Cleveland, the last time these two teams met back on December 6th, he scored 20.1 first half fantasy points, falling short of 26.5. So I don't know, busy time. I would say think twice. Think twice about it. Think a little harder about it. Cade, yeah, we talked about Giannis first half points. Don't know if I love it, man. I don't know if I love it. The numbers are not leading me to love it. I'm just showing you the numbers, you know. This isn't the end-all, be-all of your research. Hopefully, though, it gets you off to the right foot, on the right foot toward your research. So, let's see. What else are you guys liking here? Again, if you have something that's like dire, pressing, you know, super chat is going to be the best way to get that up on the screen, like you saw my man David do earlier. Oh, it's like I'm from the future or something. Nick Guthrie leaving a super chat. Nick wants to see more or know more about James Harden first half points. Well, we already talked about James Harden at the beginning of the show. No Kyrie Irving, no Kevin Durant. So James Harden, first half points. You got it, my man, Nick. We gonna do that right now. He's at 13.5 first half points going up against the Denver Nuggets. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the Nuggets giving up a lot of points to the point guard position. Yes, they are. And I'm calling James Harden a point guard because that's basically what he is, right? He's operating the offense. He's got the ball in his hands more than anybody else. Now, I want to remind you guys of something here. The past two games, the Denver Nuggets have faced Cade Cunningham and the Detroit Pistons. Now, I'm no basketball genius or anything, but I would say that James Harden at this point, right now, is a lot better player than Cade Cunningham is. Cade Cunningham, against this same Denver Nuggets squad, has dropped double-digit points against Denver in back-to-back games. I want to pull this up for you guys. We'll use Cade Cunningham as an example. Cade Cunningham, first half points versus Nuggets. You got to have the word logs in there. Logs. Who doesn't enjoy a good log? Cade Cunningham. All right, 2 games here. January 23rd, so that was 3 days ago. January 25th, that was last night. First half points versus the Nuggets. He drops 14 and 15. Now we've got James the Beard Harden without Kevin Durant, without Kyrie Irving against this same Denver Nuggets team that allowed Cade Cunningham to score 14 and 15 points in back-to-back games against them. So I'm just saying that there's some potential here. So let's look at James Harden first half points logs. Logs? You like the way I say it? Logs? James Harden first half points logs. He had 22 against the Lakers last night in the first half. Didn't do great against Minnesota, but I want to say Kyrie was in for that game, right? So this is kind of difficult because StatMuse only lets you take like one player out. Here's what we'll do. James Harden first half points without Kyrie Irving logs. So we'll take a little snapshot of this guy here. All right. And then we'll do without Kevin Durant logs. And then we'll kind of compare these dates here. So we're looking for the dates that are in common, right? January 25th, January 25th. Let me get my highlighter out. So he had 22 there, so he covers. January 23rd, no. January 21st, no. 19th, no. Do we have the 13th? We do. 13th, he had 16 first half points, so that's a cover. So these are games without Kyrie, without KD, right? We're just kind of matching them up. December 27th, yes. He had 22 first half points. December 25th, Christmas Day against the Lakers, they were both out. He had 23 first half points. All right, so you got like 4 logs here. Without Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. So his last 4 games without KD, without Kyrie, first half points, he scored 22, 16, 22, and 23. And again, Cade Cunningham just had, what did I say, 14 and 15 points against this same Denver Nuggets team. So yes, Nick. So yes. I think you're on to a good play here. Going James Harden over 13.5 points without KD, without Kyrie. You guys are dropping off a lot of logs. And I ain't mad at you. I've been known to drop off a few logs myself. Shout out to the log game. David said, I had a customer call, so I fast forwarded. Taylor G and I cooked up Bam PRA over. Man, you guys should open up your own restaurant with everything that you guys are cooking up. You're always cooking something up. My 3 pick is Randall PRA, Fournier first half points, and Bam PRA all over. Smothered and covered. Julius Randle points, rebounds, and assists. Evan Fournier first half points. And Bam Adebayo points, rebounds, and assists all over. All over. There you go, guys. And I'm going to throw James Harden in there too. There's a 4 pick for you. All right? We'll make a 4 pick right here. We can do this together. And if it doesn't work out, you show up with pitchforks to David's house and you burn it down. No, you don't do that. You don't do that. It's always the player's fault if these picks don't work out, okay? So he's liking some Bam PRA. Let's build out a little 4 pick. You like that? You liked Evan Fournier's first half points. Where's that at? Boom. And you liked Julius Randle PRA. Ooh. Ooh wee. Let's go ahead. Let's do it. You know, I've learned to forgive Karl Anthony Towns last night. I think I could learn to forgive these guys. All right, we got them in there. Well, I want to. What's going on? There we go. Cool. Now I'm gonna flex it. I'm gonna flex this. We'll put 20. 20 is nice. Put 20 in to win 100. I'll do 20 on it. Boom. Community pick, live stream pick, locked in, ready to go. Hey, I did it. It's too late. It's not too late. I could cancel that entry if I wanted to, but I'm not going to do it. You guys are saying you'll never put another $1 on Randall. Listen, I'm going to ride or die with David here. David said Bam over PRA, Randall over PRA, Fournier over first half points, and I really like the way that James Harden first half points looked, so I'm going to take him as well. All right? You guys can tail this pick if you want, or you can go ahead and fade. I will not cancel, Carlos. Don't you dare. I will not cancel this entry. This entry is locked and loaded. It's in there. Whatever happens, happens. All right? You guys tailing this pick, or are you fading this 4 pick I put together? James Harden over first half points versus Denver. Evan Fournier over first half points versus Miami. Bam Adebayo over PRA, and Julius Randle over PRA. Are you tailing it, or are you guys fading it? Hey, listen, I know, man. I hate the Knicks. I hate the Knicks, but I'm doing it. King United said, I might do the same, but take Randle under. I hear you. It's tough, but I did it. Not Randle. Says not Randle. Oh, boy. Well, listen. What's done is done at this point. Chris, you're talking about some Nikola Jokic over 57.5 fantasy points. I'm showing him at 58.5 fantasy points. I think he might have went up. 58.5 fantasy for Nikola Jokic versus the Brooklyn Nets tonight. Let's look at the center spot. Let's see how many fantasy points per game Brooklyn's given up to opposing centers. 52 fantasy points. Not a great number. That puts them down toward the bottom of the list here, but this is an above average center. This is an above average center. Some of you guys are talking Jokic PRA, which, I can't be mad at that either. Can't be mad at you liking Jokic fantasy or Jokic PRA. But we got some tough matchups here. If we look at the Nets, they're giving up about 23 points per game to centers, about 10 rebounds, and about 3 assists if we round up and we're feeling generous. So the PRA, the fantasy points, kind of go hand in hand here, but Brooklyn, tough. They're tough against opposing centers. And I don't see how. I mean, who do they got? LaMarcus Aldridge, Nick Claxton, Day'Ron Sharpe? I don't know. Anyway, I'm showing Jokic at 58.5 fantasy points. I know you asked about him at 57. Maybe they've moved the number since you last saw, but I got him projected for 61 fantasy points. He's not even playing New Orleans. What are these projections here? Let's reload here. That ain't right. That ain't right. What's going on here, Fantasy Labs? Denver at NOP. That's not right. We got the right date. All right. We got to fade these projections because I don't know what's going on. They got the wrong opponent. They're clearly facing Brooklyn tonight, right? Not the New Orleans Pelicans. I don't know. Maybe Fantasy Labs is working their out. Maybe they're working their stuff out. Anyway. 58.5 fantasy points he has covered in 5 straight games. 5 straight games. So, yeah. I don't know if this is just a mistake in terms of the opponent. Maybe the projection's right. But I can't, with confidence, tell you what's going on here. So, let's see what else you guys are talking about. Take a few more. Leroy's saying he's fading Julius Randle. I understand. Listen, I get it. Guys. I'm just rolling with David here. I'm just following like a sheep. I did flex it though. So listen, maybe the other 3 guys hit and Randle sells us. Maybe Randle is the Judas in our 4-pick entry. If so, I still profit, 3 out of 4. It's still some profits coming back, so I'm, again, not too optimistic about Julius Randle. I agree with you guys, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to ride with David. If it doesn't work out, then, it's not David's fault. Let's go look at Chris Paul's PRA. Someone's asking about that. Kissa. If you're liking some Chris Paul PRA, let's go figure out why. Last 3 games for Chris Paul, 36, 38, and 50 points, rebounds, and assists. Now, that 50, obviously an outlier against Utah. They were pretty banged up. I believe Mike Conley sat out last game. He will be back. That will help them in terms of defensive, on the defensive side of things. Let's go look at the Utah Jazz here and see how many points, rebounds, and assists they're giving up to opposing point guards over the last 7 games. It's not looking good here. 18.7 points, about 8.4 rebounds per game given up to point guards. Wow. And then 7 assists. So I could see why you're getting on board with Chris Paul's PRA in terms of the hit rates. Last 3 games have been very good, coming off a 50 PRA game. But again, I think Mike Conley was out for that one. Am I wrong? I think it was Ingles and Clarkson manning the backcourt. Conley, we got to say, he's a little bit of a better defender than Ingles is probably, right? Fair to say. So we'll go PRA here for Chris Paul. I got him projected for 32.6, which is a little bit more than the 31.5. A little bit more. So the betting public also taking the over on Chris Paul's PRA, points, rebounds, and assists. Martin's also on board with some Chris Paul PRA. Yeah. Again, just be careful with Mike Conley coming back. I would expect it to be a little bit more difficult on Chris Paul tonight. Yeah. Said brings up a great point. Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant and everybody that was on the that helicopter ride. Unfortunately, it's been 2 years, man. 2 years today already since we lost Kobe, his daughter, and the rest of the folks that were on that tragic helicopter ride. So yes, rest in peace, Mamba. Still can't believe he's gone. That was probably one of the most unexpected, tragic things that probably happened in my lifetime. So, yeah, said, thanks for bringing that up. We definitely got to pay our respects to Kobe, Bean, Bryant, and family. Isaac saying his top 3 are Cam Johnson's 3-point makes, Zach LaVine's 3-point makes, and Darius Garland's assists. Let's take a look at that. Darius Garland's assist. Am I tripping? Or are they're not up on the board? They're not up on the board. Maybe they're waiting on that news from Jarrett Allen. But let's take a look. No, Cleveland plays today, right? Am I crazy? Cleveland. I thought Cleveland played today. Yeah, they definitely play Milwaukee. All right, I'm not crazy. All right, so we just don't have any Cavs props up on the board yet, so I'm gonna just wait and see, and we'll figure out who's up on the board. Rozier, 5 assists. Is he? Yeah, he's finally been added to the board. You guys were saying that you were mad or sad or wish that Rozier's assists were up on the board. He is up on the board now at 5 dimes. 7, 10, 9, 7, and 6. It's getting more and more expensive, though. The price has went up on Terry Rozier. He's up at 5 dimes tonight. 5 dimes. Going up against Indiana. Let's see how many assists per game they give up to opposing shooting guards, because Rozier is obviously going to be a very, very popular option. They're giving up nearly 5 per game at 4.9 assists. Let's look at the point guard spot. Point guard spot, Charlotte Hornets versus Indiana Pacers. Indiana giving up about 9.1 assists per game. So Rozier, kind of a point guard, shooting guard, kind of an in-betweener. You also got LaMelo Ball that could be in play here, being that they're giving up over 9 assists per game to opposing point guards. So LaMelo's at 7. He's hit 7 or more in 4 out of 5 games. Not quite as good of a hit rate as Rozier. Not quite as good, but yeah, I think both guys could possibly be in play here. Let's pull up a projection for both of these players. Go assist. We'll go Ball. We got nothing for LaMelo Ball. Rozier, nothing for him either. Let's refresh. Maybe we don't have the latest projections pulled in. Boop, boop. There we go. I got LaMelo projected for 7.9 assists. At 7.5, he's a betting favorite to go under. And then I got Rozier projected for 4.9 assists. But at 5.5 dimes, minus 160, betting favorite to go under. So you might end up in a push or tie situation with Rozier here at 5. But I think with the high hit rates, you just roll with the over. You just roll with the over, man. Let's see what else you guys are talking about here. Yeah, Derek, we talked Middleton and Holiday's rebounds. Tough to really figure out of that Milwaukee Bucks big 3 if it's going to be Giannis, Middleton, or Holiday. But I think Holiday, for me, kind of looked like the best out of the 3. Best out of the bunch. McNasty saying that Rozier's due for a down game, an assist under. Isaac saying that he wishes PrizePicks was legal in Pennsylvania so I could ask about the same lines that I'm seeing. Well, listen, these player props, I mean, they're pretty transferable or universal across sites. Yeah, sometimes PrizePicks, they'll put up a custom number. They'll be a point lower on a guy, or they'll round a prop up or down. You'll get 7 instead of 7.5 or 6.5, right? But for the most part, I mean, this information, whether you play on PrizePicks or somewhere else, is pretty helpful, I think, no matter, where you're at. Yeah, I would not want to go under on Terry Rozier. It would be over for me, or just fade if you think that he's going to have a bad night. But, you know. Giannis PRA, we did talk about Giannis PRA. It looks like a difficult matchup. Ya boy, Young Tex. It looks like a tough matchup. Steven Adams, under what? Sorry, Aaron Rodgers. Steven Adams, under what? We have not talked any Ja Morant. You're right about that. Okay. PRA for Steven Adams. You're wanting to go under? I know Adams has been doing a pretty decent job lately at rebounding the ball, but not a guy that you think of in terms of scoring or assisting a whole lot. So you guys are screaming from the rooftops. You have found Steven Adams under PRA versus San Antonio. Now listen, guys. Listen, before we go falling in love with all this red here on Steven Adams, I get what you're seeing. I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? He's gone under in 5 straight games at 21.5 PRA. So I get why you're excited about going under on it. Can we consider the matchup, though? Real quick. Can we consider that? San Antonio giving up 26.8 points per game. Let me sort this for you so you can kind of see where that falls in line here. 26.8 points per game, 6th most to centers over the last 7 games. All right. 6th most points allowed, the 3rd most rebounds allowed to opposing centers at over 18 boards per game. And then the assists, 2.6, which, you know, that's pretty bad. That puts him down toward the bottom. 2nd fewest assists allowed. So if there was like a Steven Adams under assist prop, maybe I'd say that. But guys, they're giving up the 6th most points and they're giving up the 3rd most rebounds to opposing centers over the last 7 games. Be careful. If you're going to play the under, but don't like play 100% under, or don't put, some crazy amount of money on the under, because this matchup here is really good for Steven Adams. Really good for Steven Adams. Let's just look at something here. Points plus rebounds plus assists logs versus Spurs. All right. So 1 game as a member of the Memphis Grizzlies versus the San Antonio Spurs, Steven Adams had 28 PRA. He had 12 points, 13 rebounds, and 3 assists. He covered. That was New Year's Eve, December 31st. The only game we have of him as a member of the Grizzlies versus today's opponent, the San Antonio Spurs. 28 PRA. Aaron Rodgers says, I won't let y'all down. Take Steven Adams under. Listen, man, I'm just cautioning you. I'm cautioning you that the matchup is really good here versus the Spurs. Really freaking good. Let's pull up a projection. Just want to see where he's projected today. Got nothing, huh? They're not giving me anything for Steven Adams. PRA. Rude. No, I don't have any. I don't have a projection for you, but I'm just showing you guys that historically, and even as recent as December 31st this season, he crushed 21.5 PRA versus Jakob Poeltl and the Spurs. So, take it if you want to take it. Desmond Bane is questionable. A game time decision as far as I know. All right. Well, sounds like you guys are, your mind is made up on the under. Whew. All right. roll it on out there. You guys talk about Ja Morant. Let's make this the last pick that we talk about, and then we'll wrap things up here. Ja Morant, 43.5 PRA going up against the San Antonio Spurs. Let's take a look and see how this matchup is stacking up for Mr. Ja. So San Antonio giving up about 23 points per game to opposing point guards. You can kind of see where they rank down toward the bottom. Looking at the rebound department here, San Antonio giving up about 6.3 rebounds. So again, down toward the bottom, right? Down toward the bottom. And then the assist category, San Antonio giving up pretty good amount of assists, 9 assists. So out of the PRA categories for Ja Morant, I would probably say that the assists look like the easiest matchup. Now I can see why you guys are loving some Ja Morant here. 55, 50, and 54. We are waiting on Desmond Bane news. That will be impactful to Ja Morant tonight. So if you want to hold off and wait for the Desmond Bane update, I ain't mad at you. Don't blame you whatsoever. Let's take a look at Ja Morant. Points, rebounds, and assists versus the Spurs. The last time these two teams played, Ja barely got it done versus San Antonio with 44 PRA. 44 PRA. Over the course of his career, has covered 43.5 points, rebounds, and assists in just 2 games out of a total of 8. Not the greatest hit rates ever. He's come really close, though, in some of these other games. 43, 43. All right. I will check and see if I've got a points, rebounds, and assist prop. I don't for Ja Morant. But, yeah, I mean, for me, I got to wait on the Desmond Bane news and kind of go from there. But with that being said, folks, I think that is about all I can do here. I don't owe you a pick if Julius Randle loses. I tailed David on this pick. You talk to David. You take that up with him, J-Red. Don't you go be blaming me. I'm just following like a little blind sheep. David better come through with the goods. All right? That's all I got to say. But I'm going to get out of here, guys. It is a little after 12:30 Eastern time. Lots of picks discussed. Lots of news to stay on top of. Make sure you're doing that. Slap a like on this thing on your way out. And we will catch you same time, same channel tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern time, right here on YouTube. Good luck tonight. Peace.